Welcome to the Fitness and Lifestyle Podcast. I'm your host, Danny Kennedy, and I'm here to help you become the very best version of yourself. Zac, welcome to the show, man. Pleasure to have you on.
Thank you for having me.
Absolute pleasure, man. We've been trying to tee this one up for a while, so I think it'd be good. I know the listeners are going to really enjoy it. Anytime I put out a thing on my story asking who people want to hear on the show, your name pops up every single time. So the listeners will be thankful. Awesome. Man, tell us a bit about the new merch, the new business that I believe you and your brother launched recently. We obviously just briefly touched in about it before I hit record, and sounds like it's doing super well. But give the listeners a bit of an idea of, I guess, the process from start to finish of, until launch day, and then what you're doing with it at the moment.
So pretty much, for those who don't know, it's called Slouch Potato. So it's actual, pretty much pajamas is what it is. Me and my brother kind of figured a gap in the market for not just sleepwear, but just what we wear around the house. Is this being filmed as well? Is this being recorded?
Yeah.
Video? Yeah, sweet. For the guys that are just watching out there, I'm actually wearing them now. So it's just what it is. So it's just random prints.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's what we've been doing in the past. Probably took a good 2 years to make, and then we launched in October, and then it's been that on the side like crazy. So my brother Joel quit his job full time and has been doing this, and then I've just been trying to balance the rest of my job with this as well. So yeah, we're launching tomorrow. So for when this comes out, obviously it already would have been done. Hopefully it did well.
What's crazy? So in terms of how you're releasing the products, are you doing purely kind of hype launches, then they sell out and then you do another one, or you going to have some that kind of consistently on store?
Yeah, so it's actually interesting because originally we wanted to have that model of hype, sell out, and really just go crazy with that. Yep. So we first launched and we sold out that day. In the first hour, in fact, we sold out of a couple of things, and we were like, yes, this is great. This is what we want. Let's keep doing this. And then stock issues, it takes so much time to get that. You don't want to lose momentum. So then we actually kind of reevaluated and thought, look, strategically, if we find one product that actually kills it and really, really works and people love it, great. We're going to actually keep that. And now we're going to try and use this range to see what works, see what people like, keep restocking and not annoy people by selling out and stuff. And then kind of use that as a bit of a product to show the wider market and see if we can, get the cold audience in by that hero product. And then we're just going to go every month. We're dropping in, we're about 9 months ahead now in terms of new ranges.
Awesome.
So then every month we're going to drop something fresh just to keep that. So we kind of got an answer to your questions, a bit of both. It's the hero products stay, and then we have every month exciting new things for people who love the brand, who want that new kind of design, new pattern, all that stuff. So that'll be good.
100%. I think then you get your regular customers, and that lifetime value of the customer just keeps going up if you've got the consistent product, like you said, the hero product in there. And it just helps with the momentum as well, because it's a difficult thing when you have that launch of the product. And as you said, you guys sold out super quick. And then if you don't have something ready to back up within a few weeks, it's there's a lot of downtime in between where you lose that momentum with the customers.
Yeah. And even in terms of content, it's difficult too, because
100%.
when you're selling out of stuff, you can't keep reposting the same content, and you can't keep posting. We sold out of say cookie shorts, for example. So then we're not going to keep posting cookies because they can't even buy them. So all of the influencer marketing we did, I had sent it to 50 influencers. We had millions of reach from their photos, and then you don't want to even post them because the product doesn't exist anymore. So then you're damn, what do we do with this? So
what do we do next?
So I had to give it a bit of a rethink, and so we're going to try this strategy out and see how that goes. But
I like that. Before we push more into, I guess, the fitness side of things, what was the catalyst for that? Why pajamas? Was it just something because it wasn't being done in the market, or is that what was the catalyst there?
Part of it. It's also part of it is that we already wore them, which was quite funny because we were one of the only few people that really loved them. And I had bought some before, and I was to Joel, I'm this brand's crazy. Found a really nice brand, and he bought some immediately, and we were we wanted to share that because we were people don't know, they don't know this feeling of getting home and being so just chilling out and just relaxing, watching TV and being in that just being set up well. And so we were we could do this so much better. Joel said that, funnily enough, and I was oh yeah. And anyway, we kind of did that. But then I was looking at it analytically and going, wow, there actually isn't this brand out there right now for the younger people. It's always for kids or for girls or for old people. You know, there's not really anything that's actually quite trendy, and especially tapping into like the social media stuff. So I saw that clearly from a business perspective. I was like, wow, that's actually a solid gap
Yeah.
with the product that we already kind of like. But our issue was that we just didn't know how to possibly make this happen. Like, we were just, from anybody listening now, I was literally like you, thinking, I don't know how to make pajamas. Like, that was it, you know? So then we started from the ground up pretty much.
I think the other good part about it as well is, you know, for those that are launching, like especially e-commerce brands, let's say you're launching a gym wear, right? And you have a great network of fitness people. The chances are everyone in your network is either sponsored by a brand or doesn't want to go like exclusive with the brand either. Whereas fucking, I don't know anyone sponsored by a pajama company. So I think you've nailed it there, because you can literally, anyone that you send it to is able to, you know, share on social media, is not restricted to what they can and can't wear with their pajamas. Yep. So you've nailed it.
Yeah. Yeah. It was very sneaky.
Mate, with the YouTube channel, obviously it's fucking going mental and really engaging content. I love the fact how not only are you providing like valuable content, but the entertainment's there as well, which I think you see across any successful YouTube channel. It can't just be educational. I mean, you need some form of entertainment there as well, which is what you do such a good job of. Is that something that you were always kind of dabbling in before YouTube? Like, were you always the type of person who enjoyed the creative side of stuff and the entertaining component of, I don't know, sharing content with your audience?
I think like deep down I did, because my personality is that, like, I'm just a bit more of a joker instead of wanting to tell people what to do kind of thing. But with fitness, it didn't start that way with YouTube, because I just started a YouTube channel to try and teach people and educate people just for their benefit. So I hated filming. I actually hated the whole process of filming. I didn't know how to edit or anything like that. Actually, that's one thing. I enjoyed making movies. That was about it. I enjoyed editing because I was just like learning, but I hated talking to the camera. I was petrified by doing that. But I just kind of pushed past that, because I knew that I had some things I wanted to explain to people and kind of tell them. And then the more comfortable I got with that, the more comfortable I was with kind of being a bit myself on camera and and just kind of have fun with it a bit more. And then if you were to watch all my old videos and then watch the most recent ones, you could see that progression of me being a bit more like having more fun with it pretty much, and being less about let's be boring and explain something, and be more fun and explain something and have a laugh at the same time. And then funnily enough, it just resonated with people. Luckily, like, I didn't even realize until I had people telling me, I love how you can teach me something, and also it's quite funny. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, I'm just explaining it in the best way possible that made sense to me, you know. So it was kind of a bit of luck as well.
I feel as though I know the answer to this already, but are you someone who enjoys stand-up comedy and other forms of comedy yourself?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
What give us your top 5 stand-up comedians.
So I reckon it's hard to say. I'm going to have to say Bill Burr, because I found him on Netflix and it was like the funniest thing ever.
He's
Seeing
epic.
him the most. So good. Also, I probably a few years ago I was in LA seeing Joe Rogan stand up at the Comedy Store, and then I saw Chris D'Elia was there before him.
The goat.
I'd never heard of him as well. So actually, I saw him live, and I was like, "This is the best." So him, and then obviously I have to say Dave Chappelle and Ricky Gervais. I think they're geniuses. Big comedy.
Love that, man. Anytime I'm in LA, like prior to COVID, I'd head over to LA and spend like a month there and just work and get content. And I found myself like fucking a few times a week going down to the Comedy Store and just going by myself, like an absolute fucking weird cunt, and just going down there, sitting there for a couple of hours, and it's the best, man. I don't know if you've seen any of his stuff already, but I feel like you would absolutely love Theo Von.
Yeah, I have actually. Yeah, he's good.
He's piss funny, man. But it's such a good, it's so different over in the States, the comedy scene compared to here. But it's epic. It's epic. And I mean, like, they do to be honest, like, they're doing similar style to how you do yours. I mean, like, obviously comedy is their profession, but they're using things like their podcast and their YouTube channel to reach a wider audience, which then, you know, results in more ticket sales and whatnot. And I'm assuming, like, with your coaching app and now with the new business as well, like, that entertainment side of things indirectly is what drives those sales and the bigger audience.
Yeah, 100%. It's all tied in to one another. And even like in the past, I've used like funny videos and skit videos as a means of getting more sales in as well. And just being like, not being sneaky about it, just being completely overtly salesy with people. And it's just fun to do, to be able to like even do that. Because I think it breaks the ice with people. Like when you're selling a service of any kind like that, people, they get scared if you try and pretend like you're not selling anything. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, and I learned this just through the business of coaching, like if you have a good product that you know will add value, you want to spread that to as many people as possible. And of course they're going to pay for it. Nothing's free. So that whole, you make that transaction as clear as possible and actually laugh at it. And then people are more comfortable, I reckon, to actually be open to that.
Yeah, you build that trust, and with that entertainment and the value from the education, it's like they almost feel obligated to purchase from you. That sounds dodgy as fuck, but it's the truth. It's like, this guy's giving me so much entertainment, so much value over and over and over again. Of course, I'm going to buy his product. With the YouTube videos, man, let's say something that's a little more movie style or like entertaining, where there's a lot of edits and stuff that go into it. How long does that process typically take you, like from kind of start of filming till it's up on YouTube?
So I don't edit every video now. I've got a videographer, Hey For You, edits and films probably one video a week of mine. But for example, I did one last week that I did edit by myself. And I reckon that took around, just of edit time, probably between 6 to 8 hours, I reckon. And I've got it done pretty quick.
Yeah, mad.
And that's quite a detailed one. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. What's something that I love about your content as well, and I know you put out a bunch of this stuff. I've seen a number of your videos on YouTube around it, is the whole like personal development and self-improvement side of things, as well as the obvious kind of specific fitness content. When did that journey start for you? Was it a book that maybe, I often hear from people, it's like that one chapter or that one sentence in a book that really kind of like lit the fire, or that had that light bulb moment and really started to dive deep. And that was definitely for me. I was reading a Robin Sharma book back in 2016. And, up until that point, I fucking hated reading and didn't know personal development at all. And now I'm like obsessed with it. So how did that start for you?
Yeah, it was a similar thing actually. I was never fully into it, because I think when I was a bit younger, maybe I was at uni, like in my early 20s, I had a bit of anxiety thinking about future stuff. So I didn't really want to plan ahead as much. And I was kind of just wanting to live in my bubble a little bit, and not think about any of those confronting things. But then I think around probably pre-COVID time, I read, it was David Goggins' book, and that got me into reading a bit. I'm like, this is pretty cool. And I started doing that. Then Ross Edgley sent me his book, and that's what did it. Because that just kind of got me in the actual habit of reading. And that was the first thing that got me in the habit of reading. Then every day I started reading, and I started getting into Stoicism from his book as well. And then I read probably a book a week since then, I reckon. And then that just once you start reading, I think that's the catalyst for everybody to start to do more things like that, because you start reading about the benefits of mindfulness, meditation, journaling, actually thinking about thinking, like those things. And I think that can't really happen unless you have something like reading, which will just educate you on people's, obviously, their thoughts and what they've done. So that was the biggest thing for me. And I pretty much credit all of that to that first book. And then everything just kind of snowballed from there. So probably the last 2 years, it's been like really, really big part of my life.
Yeah, I think once you have that initial one, like you mentioned, those two books there, when you have that light bulb moment and you actually buy in yourself, because, I've had people on the show before come on and talk about mindfulness, and it's like, I can give you a book right now around personal development. You can read through it and get absolutely nothing from it. But once you're actually mentally open to the world of personal development, or you've seen some form of small benefits, just like training and nutrition, right? If you give someone a 6-day training program and fucking full macros and supplements, and they've never trained before in their life, it's not going to work. Whereas if we gradually stack those habits up and build it up over time, it makes so much sense. So your morning routine, I know you kind of post content on this quite regularly, but what's that look like for you? Obviously, you do your reading. Is there anything else that you do for your morning routine?
Yeah, so first, like, it's so weird how like ritualistic it is. It doesn't actually change no matter where I am. It's the same thing. I'll go and get my pre-workout, because my pre-workout doesn't have any tingles or anything. So it's more like feeling like a coffee. So I'll bring that back to bed and I'll start reading, and I'll probably read for around 20 to 30 minutes, usually about 30. And all whilst like I leave my phone on Do Not Disturb, so I don't get a single notification, or because like with my job, things are happening overnight with different time zones and everything. So if I get a notification at like 2 a.m. from UK or whatever, I can't read that. So I just don't look at any of my phone or anything like that. And then once the reading's done and I'm like a bit more awake, I'll plan the day and what I want, like my biggest priorities for the day, things I have to get done, when I'm going to be able to do them, make sure that that looks good for me. So I go, sweet, I'm so kind of excited. And then I'll usually do like a Wim Hof breathing exercise, and
Yep.
then I'll go down and train. And that's like every day.
How do you go about switching off? I know this is something that I definitely struggle with. I'm slowly getting better at it, very slowly. But when, say, for example, you go away on a holiday, you're just trying to take time away from work, or maybe even full on fitness for a little bit. How do you go with that? And is there any, I guess, tools or things that you've found help in terms of being able to actually switch off and give yourself that time to mentally and physically reset?
I think I was really bad at this in the past. I couldn't do that at all. But then I had a few times where I hit, not like, I was that overwhelmed with everything going on, of pressure, the actual work itself, anything, just negativity, anxiety, all, there's just a lot of overwhelming like feelings. And I think that led to me one day just thinking like, I need to get out. Like it was one of those things where you just want to throw in the towel for a bit. Like you just feel like it's too much. And the feeling of that, and that is what kind of lets me switch off when I need to, because I don't want to get there again. So like,
Yep.
for example, just last weekend, just gone, I just went up to the mountains with my family, just kind of just chilled. And I'm easily able to let myself do that and actually enjoy the moment, enjoy the present time, because I know that if I don't do that every so often, or if I don't take in that time at the end of the day, maybe to switch off and give myself a break, I know it's going to build up to the point where you'll get to that point where people burn out and they feel like they can't take it anymore. And I think if you've been there before, it's like just the shittest feeling ever, because you feel like, how can I do this? And if you haven't been there before, I think you can understand that it's not somewhere you'd want to be, where you want to just,
Nah.
go all in. So you have to like, I think for me, I always think about that, preventative kind of measure to avoid that burnout. And then also too, it's just the more I do this stuff, and especially with fitness as well, I don't need to be going crazy training and going nuts and killing my body every single day. Like I think you find that balance to enjoy the rest and not live it to extremes of either going all or nothing on anything.
Yeah, I remember a couple of years ago when Robbie Frame came on the show. I'd known Robbie for a while, and he used this incredible analogy around the volume dial, like, turning the volume dial up when things really need to start to get a little more disciplined, and, tightening up with your macros and your training and whatnot, but then being able to turn it down so you're not fully on or fully off all the time. And that's what problem I think people fuck up with the most in terms of even just general health and well-being. It's like you go, and you would see this all the time. You have someone who has come from doing next to nothing and they need to make a change, and they try and do everything all at once. So they're either fully in or fully out. If you can get out of that cycle, it makes a world of difference. Just on the topic still of being able to switch off, it's funny how similar this is, but obviously see someone, let's say a singer that does exceptionally well with, like, maybe they have a big song or a few big songs, and then that pressure is there then to make sure that every song after that is just as big, if not bigger. On a smaller scale, do you feel that same way with YouTube? And if so, like, how do you approach your videos now? Are you kind of mapping out a video purely to try and make it bigger than the previous one, or what's your process of deciding on what type of content goes into those?
Yeah, that's actually really hard, because it's one thing to continue making videos of just whatever you want. Like that's fine. And that's what I did for a while as well. But then you do want to just get better, and you want to just keep progressing and not have any bits of, feeling a bit stale or bored on the channel as well. Like you want to make it exciting and keep growing, obviously. So I think it's a funny world, YouTube, because sometimes you go through phases where everything kills it. Maybe, it's like the algorithm's loving you, everything's killing it, showing heaps of people. That's been for me a few times. And then in between you'll get lulls where it really just, for whatever reason, isn't as popular, not showing many people and whatever. And it can kind of make you a bit like overanalyzing what's going on. And sometimes like I just get caught doing that anyway, by thinking, oh, what do I need to do to kind of get the views again? And so I just try not to be too drastic with it, because I understand that it has these like cyclical things, but at the same time too, I'm always trying to be different and think of ways to stay ahead. So like for now, for example, the views haven't been great on my channel. But I don't get discouraged, because I just think, okay, sweet, back to the drawing board. Like, what can we change? What can we try? What can we do different? And then that's why I always kind of rejig a bit of a method for that. I don't just
Mm.
beat myself up and think, oh shit, like last year I got a million views in one video. How can I do that again? I'm just thinking, I guess, of new things and trying to innovate a bit more with those videos and make the videos better. And to sum it up, if my content can't get better, that's all I'm really worried about. If that's a problem if it can't get better. So for now, I just think, oh well, if no matter what happens, if I'm making the videos that I think are the best I can, or that I think is a genuinely sick, viral worthy video, I'm happy with that, And if
Mm-hmm.
YouTube doesn't like it for whatever reason, then sweet,
So
you
be
go
it,
fuck
yeah.
yourself. But yeah, but the most important thing is that like I don't overanalyze the details, and I think, well, and I've done this since I had about 10,000 subscribers. I did a video, did that 10 Happy Meal challenge,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
just food challenge, and I watched it back, and I remember it got like, I don't know, maybe a couple thousand views or 5,000 views, and I watched it back, and I was like, this is a viral worthy video. Like I could see that getting a million. I'm like, damn. And I literally was saying to my family, I was like, oh, well, all I've got to do is keep making that, because if I can make that standard, then
Mm-hmm.
surely it'll get there one day. And that video popped, like, funnily enough, it popped off and got like, I think it's at 6 million now, something crazy. So like
It's
that
crazy.
always was a bit of a, yeah, and it was so cool too, because that was such a reminder of like, oh, well, that's the only important thing is you have to make content that's actually good, and it has to be up there and parallel with the ones that are smashing it. Because if it's not, it doesn't deserve to be there. And then that's
Yeah.
the only thing that I'm thinking now. So like we're filming this week. We're doing like another 30 Happy Meal challenge. This is a bit of a tribute to it, like me and a couple, my brother and my mate. So, but at the same token, like I have to watch that video back at the end of it and go like, this has the potential to smash it. And if it does, that's all I want. And if
Yeah.
if it doesn't work out, who cares? You film again the next week. You keep trying stuff. But it's just that main, I have to be making sure that the standard is there, and that's all I care about.
And I guess as well, like, yeah, even if there are videos that you expect to do well and they don't, like the catalog's still there. You know what I mean? Like when you find that new
Exactly. Yeah.
subscriber, they go back through, and it might be a couple of years down the track that a video that you've done starts to go super well. I don't know how much music you listen to, but a rapper that I've been following for years now, his name's Russ. He, similar, like this is fucking not even similar to this really, but he just independent, like mixes his own songs, makes all the beats, makes all the lyrics and all that shit, and was putting out a song a week on SoundCloud. And very similar vibe to you, like just making sure that each song he was progressing, he had to like it regardless of the downloads. He would put it on SoundCloud like every single week for like I think it was a couple of years, and then it started to pop off, and now he has this catalog of like hundreds of songs which people can go back through and listen to. And he knew that content was good, but now that someone's found it, that's when it starts to blow up. So it's just that consistency and just continually putting it in over time. And I think consistency is so underrated.
Absolutely.
In everything, particularly health and fitness, but particularly with content. Very similar with this podcast. Like I'm up to about 381 episodes now, but like for the first year and a half, the downloads were fuck all. Like I was listening to it more times than anyone else. But it's just that putting out at least one episode a week over the years that now it starts to do well, and now we've got the content there. That was a fucking massive random ramble, but that's all good. How's your training going anyway? Like what's the goal for you at the moment? I mean, I feel like in health and fitness, especially once you've been in it for a while, it gets to a point where you've put in the years and you build that foundation, and you get to a point where you're happy with your physique. And I mean, there's always work to do, but what's your goal with the physical side of things now?
Well, mine is more like, it's a little different in my position because, and you probably relate as well, but having to feel like for me, my body doesn't sit lean. I don't just maintain a lean body fat and go, life's good. I have to like usually work for it a lot, and maintain that. So like I spend, as a result, the last 2 years, for example, like just because of social media pressures and just stuff like that, like for people who don't understand the difference, it's you literally make more money the leaner you are. When you look at the numbers, it's just how it works. So it's a very superficial world. The leaner I am, the more people sign up, the more views I get. It's just, it's like that. So you end up going, oh shit, okay, well, I'm going to eat a salad now. So then I am very obsessive with my mentality of things. I'll usually go all or nothing with some stuff. So I spent the last 2 years pretty much like not dieting, but like pretty much in a calorie deficit and getting used to that. So I was getting used to just running on nothing, right? So As a result, I noticed my physique pretty much stayed the exact same, if not
So,
little worse in some areas. I had a bit of a knee injury, just a tendonitis thing. So it started to go a little bit backwards and not loving it as much. And I was getting used to feeling like trash a bit. So only in the last couple of months where I've gone, I actually want to start feeling properly good again and a bit bigger and make some changes. Cause like the way this started for me was I was just full on obsessed with bodybuilding. Like I didn't get into this, into fitness for any other reason that I loved the gym, changing my body. I wanted to be a bodybuilder and everything like that. So that always is there a little bit in me wanting to like change my physique and do like bodybuilding style kind of, training and everything like that. So that always is going to be there. And then for me now it's more like, okay, now I'm back in the mindset of I want to change, I want to get more improvements. I'm not yet ready to kind of maintain. If I was, I would just kind of maintain that lean body and kind of just go as it is. But for now it's pretty much a lean growing phase to try and get some improvements going.
Yeah, man, it does get pretty exhaustive. What year was it? Obviously this was backwards, was it 2017? I think I did because I did 2 or 3 years of physique competing. And I remember I did 3 shows in 1 year and it was like a 26-week prep or some shit. And you get to the end of it and it really is, it's very ironic, but like the better you look, the worse you feel. And then you kind of go to yourself, fuck, hang on a second. Like I got into this and fell in love with this to feel good, to look good, to really look forward all day to go on a train. And when you get to that point and you've been in deficit for a long period of time, it's like, fuck, all the things that I actually really enjoy about this sport or this lifestyle is now missing. So I think, it's so important to then kind of at least transition out of it for a little bit and spend some time where you're actually just looking forward to being in the gym and seeing those changes again.
Exactly. Yeah.
What's with Pride? Mindful of your time, so we'll wrap up in a few minutes. But the pre-workout Pride, obviously yourself and is formulated the pre-workout, which is fucking incredible. The new flavor is elite too, and we've done. I would have been prior to launch or just after launch. We did a full episode on it, and is jumped on the show with us. But how, for those that are listening, what was that process like from kind of coming up with that concept and then getting the formulas and playing around with the samples and whatnot to where it is right now? And I guess how much involvement do you still have to have in the back end of it now that it's live and doing super well?
So pretty much the way that Very started was one time, and this was, we discussed this ages ago, Iz came down here and we kind of, the CEO, and was speaking about just random products because I love the supplements and I've been with EHP for a long time. And I was saying what my dream pre-workout would be. We're just talking just smack. So for that for me was a bit of a fast and slow energy. So you still want to keep training, no beta alanine, heaps of pump, heaps of focus, just something that actually gives you a better session. So anyway, Iz, being the brain that he is, just started writing down ingredients and what the formula would be and just on his notes. And I was like, and we're just having lunch and I was like, wow, this is actually crazy. So he kind of said, let's do it. And for a long time, I just thought it wasn't happening. And even when they started showing me the labels and we went in there and had some meetings about what it's going to look like, even then I still thought this is still conceptual, it's not going ahead because it was just too good to be true. It was this is crazy, my own thing. But then we went to Utah and actually had to play with the actual formula they made, the labs. And it was insane from the get go. They nailed the actual nailed the ratio of ingredients and everything because we just had the best workouts for 3 days straight, smashing it. But the only difficult thing was the flavor because the base ingredients were so good that they tasted just terrible. So the flavor house that works with EHP is just ridiculous at working with flavors and making it happen. So back and forth. Now I pretty much just get to we have brainstorm sessions about potential flavor ideas. They can see what works. It's interesting with the flavor labs because not all flavors, you can't just say, oh, sweet, Pride, let's do this and just say whatever flavor because it might not work with those ingredients. So
with those ingredients,
yeah, we tried to do a cotton candy as the first iteration. At that time, we actually couldn't get it at all for one of the ingredients just wasn't working with it. So had to let that one go for a bit, which I was shattered about. But now pretty much they'll do that. We'll decide on a potential candidate and then they'll send me samples to my house. Iz will taste it at his, I'll taste it at mine. A couple of other guys will taste it and then we'll kind of have a discussion, see if any changes need to be made. And lately they've just been on the ball. When the latest one, Fantasy Soda, when that came to my house, the first sample, I was like, this is insane. Bang on from the get-go. It was perfect. So whether they're just getting better at refining that or just with the working with that base. I'm not sure, but yeah, it's actually really awesome. Like it's been one of my favorite things ever.
That's awesome, man. Just a couple more things before we wrap up. What's obviously we talked about the personal development side of things, and I guess with that comes a heap of self-awareness. And I think when things are going super well, sometimes it's obviously when content's going well, business is well, all that type of stuff, it's easy to almost ignore things that you might want to work on yourself and stuff like that. So this is a pretty, I guess, vulnerable or open question, but what are some things at the moment that you're wanting to really focus on and work on within yourself?
Probably because I'm always thinking about this stuff of that. But I think for one will be, I guess, the confidence to keep putting things on the line and maybe taking more risks, hoping for a payoff instead of acting a bit more conservatively or thinking, and being a bit risk averse. Like I would like to have a bit more of that. And I think that just stems from a bit more self-belief. You know what I mean? Like when I was a kid, I was like, thought I could do anything. And then for whatever reason, for a period of 10 years or so into my like early adulthood, I was like, 20 years old, I can't do anything. The world's huge. I can't do it. You know, you feel like that a bit. So I've always had like a little bit of that. And then now I'm still trying to work on that self-confidence to go like, if I want to make a clothing brand, I can go and do it. So that's why like we did Slouch, because it was a bit of a challenge to put myself out there and put that out there in the world and kind of like try and push for something and back myself in. So that was like more of part of me did that because I wanted to prove it to myself that, you know, I can do that. So that's one thing that I'm still trying to keep pushing towards. And another one, which just trips me up all the time, is like just not being too critical of myself. Cause you know, I for whatever reason, there's a lot of factors I'd imagine, but yeah, I'm always thinking like I'm comparing myself to a lot of other people saying you should be doing better, you should be doing this. But because I work so much on the mindfulness, like mental awareness side of things, I do notice when I'm thinking that stuff. And that's what I think is important, because for a lot of people out there, they probably compare themselves just as much and feel just a shit about themselves, but they're not aware of it. And they can't pick on that and go, hang on, that's not true. Or that's a bad thought or whatever it is. Cause when it happens, like I'll immediately go, actually, no, you're just talking shit to yourself, or don't believe that. You're not feeling good today, whatever that is. I'm still aware of it and I can kind of address it and notice it. But I kind of feel bad for the people. And that's why I make a lot of videos in this. I feel bad for the people who aren't aware of that. And they're just going through life going, I suck. I'm a piece of shit. I should be doing better. Why can't I do anything? I have no motivation. Like and then nothing changes, you know, whereas I'll notice it and go, okay, I can work on that. So that's one thing that I'm kind of still working on as well.
Awesome, man. Love it. And just to send us off, what's one of the better books that you've read recently that the listeners can go and jump on and try for themselves?
That is, I reckon, you know what? I actually reckon the Diary of Naval, what is it? The Almanac of Naval Ravikant. I think that's what it is. I think it's the Almanac. Yeah. The guy is just like, he's a really, really smart business investor guy. Like it's a great book of just little, I guess, excerpts from him and his tweets and stuff like that. But at the end, he's actually got his reading list as well. And I think that's quite cool because he put his reading list there. So not only did I take a lot from that, but he set me up with another like 3 books that I read just after that. And this was only like maybe a couple months ago. So they've all been really good too. So I reckon that is a good one.
Awesome, man. I'll flick you through a list of some of the good ones I've read recently. I'm sure some of them are probably already on the list that you've read, but there might be a few there that you haven't. Awesome, mate. Well, look, much appreciated. I'm glad we finally got it done. Congrats on all the success and everything that's going on at the moment. I'm super excited to see what you do over the next few years, and I'm sure the listeners will take a lot of value from this episode. So for everyone who has tuned in, whether it's on YouTube or whether it's on iTunes or Spotify, we'd love for you to take a screenshot of this episode, post up on Instagram story, tag myself, tag Zac. I'll have the links to his socials, YouTube channel, Slouch Potato, all the stuff in the show notes below. Thanks a lot, man. Much appreciated.
Legend. Thank you.